everybody. Welcome to the cooking spot. This is our episode of Cooking in the Classroom. Right? With me, I have Amani and Sandra.
Hello.
Right? Amani is going to be one of our guests. He's going to help us make some pizza. And Sandra is from the biology department. Right? So she's going to let us know a little bit about the science of making pizzas. Okay. First thing I'm going to start off with is the dough. Right? I have some bread flour. Right? Good thing about this recipe, it's super easy to make, right? Salt, instant yeast, right? Instant yeast has very small granules, so it's pretty much going to dissolve instantly. Since it's really small granules, you put it right into your dry ingredients, right? I have some water, I have some oil, and I have some honey, right? Honey I'm gonna throw in there just for a little bit of sweetness, right? Yeast likes to feed on sugar. Right. Did you want to say something about that, Sandra?
Sure. Well, yeast, if you didn't know, is a fungus. It's a living organism, and it likes to eat just like every living organism, and it feeds on the carbs in the flour, and it's also going to be releasing carbon dioxide and alcohol, and this is actually what makes the bread rise.
That's right. Right. We're going to take that yeast, we give it a little honey so it could feed it, so it could be nice and happy, and it's going to make us a delicious dough. Right? So once we have everything in the bowl, all we need to do is mix, mix, mix. Right? I'm going to do it in the bowl at first till it starts to come together. Right? As it starts coming together, I'm going to transfer it over to the table, and then I'm going to be kneading it a little bit, right? What I'm doing right now is I'm bringing everything together, right? Getting all the ingredients to be buddies, to be friends, and I'm also going to start creating gluten, right? Gluten is something that is found in wheat. Gluten is what's going to help me trap gases. Sandra mentioned that it's going to be producing a little bit of carbon gas, and that's going to be what I want to trap in here so I can get a nice puffy crust. Right? It's going to help us out quite a bit. Did you want to say something about gluten?
Sure. Well, as the chef mentioned, gluten is a protein. It's found in wheat, barley, and rye, and it allows the dough to be stretchy, and as you mentioned, it's going to be trapping the carbon dioxide gas in the actual dough.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as you look at the dough right now, it kind of looks like a mess. But I promise you that after I'm doing this for a few minutes, it's going to start coming together. You see a whole lot of dry spots. You think I need to add a little bit more water, right? Have a little bit of faith, right? This flour is thirsty. It's going to be able to drink up all this water that's in here, right? And then it's going to start, right now it still looks really rough, but as I'm going, it's going to start to tighten up. Right? A lot of people just think pizza's pizza, right? But pizza's actually a bread, right? It is made with wheat flour, which is one of the flours that has the highest amount of gluten. And we're going to add yeast, which allows us to get a nice little rise. Right. So as far as science goes, what actually is bread?
Well, bread is, one of the main components is going to be wheat, right? And an easy way to make bread is by actually just adding water to the flour, to the flour. And, you just mix it up. And if you don't put the yeast in it, what you will get is just a flat bread that's not going to rise.
A flat bread that's not going to rise.
Right.
I don't want that. All right. It's starting to come together, right? I don't have any more dry spots on my dough, right? But it's still not smooth like I want it. So I'm going to let it go a little bit more. All right. While I'm doing this, my assistant Amani over here is going to be making us the tomato sauce to put on top of the pizza, right? So I have a bowl over here with your ingredients if you wanted to bring it over here to your area, and then we can get everything together, right? The sauce is super easy to make, right? I have some tomato paste, some crushed tomatoes, and then a couple ingredients, right? So we'll start off with the tomato products. Just get them into the bowl, right?
I just dump them.
Just dump them, right? Let me get you a little spatula, because that'll be easier than, there you go. And just get everything into the pool, right? Those are crushed tomatoes right there. We got our tomato paste, right? When I'm making the pizza, I like to add tomato paste. It gives you a really, really deep tomato flavor. And it also helps tighten up your sauce. It helps it get a little thicker. I'm going to get into it a little bit further in this video. But you want to keep an eye on how much moisture you're putting on top of your crust. The more moisture you put on top, the more likely it is for your crust to end up soggy. And I don't think anybody wants a soggy crust, right? So that's the tomato paste that is going in there, right? To that, he's gonna add some spices. You can add fresh herbs. You can add dry herbs. Doesn't really make a difference. It's just whatever you prefer, right? You can get all the other ingredients in there, right? So he's throwing in a little bit of some dried herbs, which is just like a Italian seasoning, right? Oregano, basil, a little bit of parsley, some marjoram, a little bit of garlic that he's adding in there, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of red wine vinegar, right? Tomato sauce, tomato paste, it might not sound, but it actually is fairly sweet. There's a significant amount of sugar going on in tomatoes, and then just stir everything up, right? So a little bit of that vinegar is gonna actually bite through it and kind of not make it so sweet, right? So you actually have a savory product at the end, right? Best case scenario is you make this sauce ahead of time, right? At least 2 hours ahead of time. Best case scenario, you make it the day before, right? We have a whole lot of strong flavors in here, right? We have the garlic, we have the herbs, we have the salt and pepper, and we want all those flavors to marry. We want all those flavors to hang out for a little bit, become good friends, and they're gonna make a very, very good pizza, okay? So once you got that done, all we're gonna do is put it aside, and like I said, best case scenario, you let it sit overnight, but you want it to go at least 2 hours, just so all those flavors kind of melt together, right? This right here is gonna be the pizza dough, right? End product. Usually, you're gonna take a clean bowl, right? A little bit of olive oil, right? And rub it in, right? Our pizza's gonna go in there. I like to let it go head first, right? We have a seam right here. This is where the bottom of my dough is. I'm gonna put it like this, wrap it up, and I'm gonna let it double in size, right? If you have a warm area on countertop, on top of your refrigerator, you could even put it in your oven while it's turned off, just with the light on, right? Because one of the things that yeast like other than sugar, right? Yeast is a Texan. Yeast likes it warm, right? Warm weather makes it very, very happy. It's gonna produce a whole lot of gas. It's gonna produce a whole lot of flavor, right? And that's one way to kind of speed up that process, right? Once it actually rises and proofs up, you're gonna do it again, right? You're gonna take your product, let's just pretend it's already rose and it's already happy. What I like to use is these little plastic containers, right? You get them anywhere. They're very inexpensive. They're usually, I think I got them like there's like a 5-pack, right? You wanna separate this dough after it's doubled in size. So usually, like I said, it's gonna take about an hour and a half to double in size. And then what you wanna do is turn this into a little ball, right? Just a little tip, whenever you're working with doughs, if you already know the shape that you wanna end with, that should be the shape that you start with, right? So since I wanna end with the round pizza, a little bowl right here, right? Again, a little bit of olive oil just to make sure that it doesn't stick. Rub it around, and just the same thing, right? This is the top, right? This is the head, and this is the bottom. I go head first, give it a little push, just so I get a little bit of oil there too, just so it doesn't dry up. And then I put a lid on it, right? If you are in a hurry to make pizza, again, put that somewhere warm and let it continue fermenting. If you are not in a hurry, right, you can get this done the day before, and when you get to this step, put it in your refrigerator, right? Let that cold, because like I said, yeast is a Texan. So when it's nice and hot, it's ready to work. It's ready to go. When it gets chilly, we'd rather stay home. We'd rather be under the covers. We'd rather stay warm. All right. So we got our doughs in there, right? And then, like I said, if you want it now, let this sit somewhere warm for about an hour, right? So it'll basically, when everything's said and done, hour and a half to ferment first, portion it out into individual balls, let it go for about another hour, right? So it is something that's a process, but it's not that much work, right? We've been here just for a few minutes, and we've kind of went through the whole process, right? Work for a couple minutes, take a break, work for a couple minutes, take a break, and that's that, right? Once these proof up, I'm gonna get these out of the way, all right? Get my area cleaned up. Right? Because now we're gonna actually have our dough, right? We have our dough right over here. Right? Have a little bit of flour, a little bit of semolina, right? But this right here is our dough. And let's see if we can zoom in. Let's see if we can do an overhead shot, just so we can see. That right there is our dough, right? By comparison, right? That's what it was, and now it's all grown up, right? Me as a parent, I start crying a little bit, right? They grow up fast,
Yep.
right? So this right here is, it went through the fermentation process, right? Just like Sandra mentioned, yeast fed on the sugar, started breaking down some of the carbs, started feeding on that, produced a whole lot of flavor, and produced a whole lot of gas, right? That gas got our dough nice and puffy. Why? Again, because we allowed gluten to develop, right? We add sugar, we added flour, we added water. We kind of worked that to get that gluten network. And basically what we created is like a little balloon, right? We created a balloon, and then the gas that the yeast made is what actually filled it up, right? We took a whole lot of time and effort to get these nice and filled. We put a lot of faith in our yeast that it was going to help fill it. So now what we want to do is we want to shape it without removing too much of that gas, right? We want that crust to be nice, light, and airy, especially around the ends, right, around the crust, okay? So I'm going to grab one, right? My assistant over here is going to grab the other, and then we're going to kind of move this out of the way. And we're going to move the tomato sauce out of the way. All right. Let's bring it this way. All right. All right. Now, a little bit of bread flour we're going to add onto our stations. All right. A little bread flour on top, a little bit of bread flour on the bottom. All right. Again, you have one side that's really, really smooth. You want that to stay the top of the pizza, right? This part that doesn't look that pretty, that's gonna end up being the bottom, right? You wanna make sure that you get both of them nice and floured. And then what we're gonna do is the shaping process, right? You don't wanna take a rolling pin to this, right? Because you don't want that dough to get too flat, right? Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our fingertips and we're just gonna press down, kind of starting on the center, and we're gonna work our way out. Right? And as we work our way to the edge, you're going to be able to see that the crust actually starts getting really, really puffy. Right? So what we're doing is we're kind of redistributing the gases that were created during the fermentation process. Right? We don't want to get rid of them because we put all this time and effort into them. Right? So all you want to do is push that out to the side, and you can see as I'm pushing it out, like I said, I'm not getting rid of the gas, I'm redistributing a lot of it. All right. This dough might kind of feel at first, when you first handle this dough, like it is difficult to handle. But it's actually very, very sturdy, right? It can take a little bit of abuse. You can be a little rough with it, right? Not too rough with it. Don't be mean, right? So now that I have a nice little crust here, it's nice and flat here on the center. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my fingers, right, like this, and I'm gonna sit it on there, and I'm just gonna be opening my hands, give it a little twist, and doing that, right? So hands underneath, right? And then all I'm doing is stretching it out, right? All I'm doing is doing a little bit of rotation and stretching it out, right? I don't want to aggressively kind of open my hands. I want to slowly open my hands, right? I don't want to be mean to the dough, right? And as I'm doing it, I'm letting gravity kind of take some of it, and then I'm just kind of, see, look at that. You're starting to see the thickness, because you can actually see my blue gloves through it, right? Right? My crust is still there, right? It's still nice and airy. Right? And we're gonna, like I said, keep on stretching. Sometimes your dough, if it hasn't rested properly, it might not want to stretch, right? You can easily just give it a little bit of a break, let it sit down for a few minutes, and then kind of continue back to the stretching process. All right. All right. So this right here is going to be your end product. And like I said, and this right here is gluten. You see that? You can see my glove right through it. But there's no hole there. Why? Because gluten's my friend. Gluten's my buddy. Right? Gluten helps you make pizza. Right? There are some people that can't handle gluten, right? There are some gluten intolerances, right,
Yeah,
Sandra?
correct. Yeah, correct. And people who can't handle gluten, they're usually diagnosed with celiac disease.
Celiac disease?
Right.
Okay.
And they will, it's actually an inflammatory response from the immune system, and it actually attacks the inner wall of the small intestine. So it can be very dangerous for them to eat anything with gluten. So that's when they would go to that gluten-free diet or gluten-free products, which are actually found everywhere now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But if you're not, if you don't have celiac disease, I mean, it's perfectly fine for you to have gluten. And there are actually diagnostic blood tests for that you can take to actually know if you actually have it.
Okay. Okay. So right here, as you hold it up, right, you can actually see, kind of as the light shines through it, where the parts are a little bit thicker and where the parts are a little bit thinner, right? So what we can do is kind of just, as you're looking at it and you see where the thicker parts are, kind of focus on getting that stretched, right? The center looks really nice, so we really need to focus on that. So we just focus here on the edges and just give them a little stretch, right? Just slowly stretch it out, right? Right. Great thing about making pizza at home is you're making it at home. You're making for people you appreciate, right? It's right. It's handmade, so it should look handmade. It shouldn't look perfect, right? It should have some character, right? That's what I say when my product doesn't turn out as beautifully as I would like. I say, no, it has character. It's rustic, right? Right? When everything's said and done, it's gonna taste good. Doesn't matter how it looks, right? As far as cooking for a profession, absolutely, you want to make sure everything looks beautiful. But cooking at home, there was a bunch of stuff my mom made, and it probably wasn't gonna win any beauty contests. But boy, if it didn't make me happy when I ate it, right? So, pizza dough done, right?
Yeah.
We got it made, we got it shaped, we got our sauce done. So what's left?
The topping?
The toppings, right? Let's start eating, let's start cooking. Get everything together, right? So I'm not sure what your favorite toppings are, but toppings are endless, right? Toppings are endless. Right? Whatever you want to put on the pizza, that you put on the pizza, right? There's some people that say, "Oh no, you never put pineapple on a pizza." And I go, "Says who?" Right? If I want to put pineapple on my pizza, then I'm gonna put pineapple on my pizza. Right? If you don't like it, then don't eat it. Right?
And do you know what the most popular topping
I-
in America is?
The most popular topping, I have no idea, but if I were to guess, I would say pepperoni.
Correct.
Look at that.
What about the least?
The least.
Right.
If you're asking me,
In America, the least
I'm gonna
favorite.
say olives.
Close.
Ah.
It's actually anchovies.
Anchovies.
Yeah.
See, I don't mind anchovies, right?
Neither do I, but yeah, that's actually.
So we got our stuff right here. Let me grab a little bit of a spoon, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna top our pizza, all right? Everybody that makes pizza, they want it to be nice and crispy, right? But then when it comes to seeing all the toppings here, people get excited, maybe even a little too excited. And they try to overload their pizza, right? So I have a few different things, right? I have a few different cheeses: provolone cheese, cheddar cheese, Parmesan cheese, right? Pepperoni, right? Number one topping. Some mushroom, some bell peppers, and a little bit of cooked Italian sausage, right? Two reasons why I cooked it. Number one, just to make sure that it cooks all the way through. And number two, just to kind of get rid of some of this moisture that's in the Italian sausage, right? This crust is very, very thin. When I put this into this hot pizza, what it's gonna do is it's gonna heat up the crust, and the crust is gonna heat up the toppings. And then it's gonna heat up the crust, and then the crust is gonna give away that heat to the toppings. And then it's gonna heat up the crust again, and the crust is gonna give away that heat to the toppings. And once the toppings are nice and cooked, then the crust is gonna say, okay, so now I'm gonna keep some heat to myself, right? So the more toppings you have on there, the more likely that your bottom crust is going to be a little soggy, right? We want to stay away from a soggy crust, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get a pizza peel, right? You can grab a pizza peel, something like this, or you could even use the back of a pan, right? I got my pizza peel. I'm going to add a little bit of flour, right? This is semolina flour. You could also use cornmeal. All it is a flour with a larger grain, and it allows the pizza to slide around a lot easier. Right? So all that's gonna go in there, and pizza goes on top, right? You wanna be able to give it a little wiggle, right? If the pizza kind of flies around like you're playing air hockey, we're in a good place, right? We're gonna go with a little bit of sauce. Again, like I said, as far as your toppings are, don't be aggressive with it. Be a little on the stingy side, right? You're better off getting really nice toppings, really good toppings, and just letting those shine, as opposed to putting a whole bunch of cheese. Just get some good cheese, right? Some tomato sauce is going on there, and like I said, there's a good amount of tomato paste in here, so it's a little thick, right? You can kind of see as I'm putting it on there, it's a little thick, again, to minimize how much moisture is on this pizza, right? Get it up to the crust, right? You can add yours, right? And then it's just whatever you want to put on it, right? A lot of different toppings, right? And there's no such thing as a wrong topping, right? What's your favorite topping, Sandra?
Well, on my pizzas, I usually like pepperoni, of course.
Pepperoni?
And jalapenos and spinach. That's my go-to.
Jalapenos and spinach.
Yeah.
Right? All right. All right. I'm going to put a little bit of cheese, right? When I was growing up, I was one of those people that didn't understand why I had to do science class. And then I went to culinary school, and then I realized that this is what I wanted to do. And then the more I looked into it, I said, wow, this whole thing is science, right? This whole thing, right? We talked about fermentation, science. We talked about bread making, science. We talked about gluten, science, right? Cheese.
Yeah.
Is there science in there?
Yeah, there.
How's there science in there?
Well, the main ingredients of a pizza is going to be bread, tomato, and cheese, which all come from the sun and the soil. And as we know, plants make their own food, right, using the sun as energy and carbon dioxide and water. And they make their own food. This process is called photosynthesis.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, as humans, we eat these plants as well as other animals like cows,
A little
sheep,
bit of
and
Parmesan,
goats.
a little bit of cheddar if you want.
And they all make milk. And everybody knows cheese starts off as milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's great. Right. So there's a whole lot of science going in here. There's a whole lot of science. What else do you want?
Oh, the pepperoni.
Pepperonis. Oh, there,
course.
see, there you go. See?
Don't forget.
He was like, "Why'd you put the pepperonis all the way over there?" I was trying to be stingy with it. I was like, "No, more pepperonis for me." Right? But that's not right. Right? But like I said, it might not look like so much cheese. You might be like, why didn't he put a little extra cheese in there? Right? Because like I said, I want to make sure quantity over quality, right? I still want to make sure that my pizza has that little movement. It wiggles, right, beautifully. Right? When I go into the oven, my oven is very hot, right? So when you're making pizza, please be careful. Right? Touching the metal in there is definitely going to be a significant burn, which is why I have a paddle. Right? I'm not going to get close to it. If you have a baking stone, that would actually be a fantastic option, right? Baking stone is actually going to transfer a lot of heat directly into the crust, and it'll help you get that nice crispy crust, right? If you don't have a baking stone, next best option would be to use a nice heavy pan, right? And actually bake on that nice heavy pan and have it in your oven ahead of time so it can actually develop a whole lot of heat, right? And as soon as you put that pizza on top of that pan, just like if you ever touch that pan, you feel the heat transfer immediately, right? Same thing's gonna happen here, right? Heat transfer immediately, and it's gonna help give us a nice rise on this crust. It's gonna help cook our toppings, and it's gonna help get our crust crunchy instead of soggy, right? So now we're gonna go into the hot oven, all right? So we're gonna open it up, right? Make sure that our pizza does that little wiggle, and then you're gonna go in and just let it go, right? If you've ever did the tablecloth trick, the ta-da, right? That's what we're doing, right? We're getting a little bit of semolina flour. That's gonna kind of minimize the friction so it can actually slide around, right? We're gonna take our pizza and we're gonna just, right, get it here on top, right? It's nice and move. You wanna try this out?
Oh,
You
sure.
wanna do it?
Yes.
All right, let's do it, right? Don't worry. If it doesn't work, we're just gonna cut it out. Right? No fear. Right? No hesitation. There you go. Right? So pizza goes in, and all you do is wait. Right? We have a few minutes. Right? Now, if you have a family, you're probably gonna have to do a few more. Right? When I make pizza, I invite people over, and I end up just doing one after another. Right? If that's the case, then that's going to be what you want to do, right? Get all your doughs ready, get them shaped, get them assembled, let them cook. Depending on your oven, it takes somewhere about 7 to maybe 10 minutes. If you're doing it on a baking stone, it'll probably be a little bit closer to the 7 mark. If you're doing it just on a regular pan, it'll be a little closer to the 10-minute mark, all right? So now all we have to do is wait, right? Sandra, did you have anything to add about our ingredients, about the bread making process, yeast, all those other fantastic things that science has taught me about my profession that I didn't even aware existed?
Well, the majority of the bread that we see is going to look like a sponge,
Uh-huh.
right? It's going to have like holes, right? The bread that you buy at the store. And that is because of that carbon dioxide gas released by that yeast that makes those holes and then allows, of course, for the bread to rise.
Oh, yes.
And designing a healthful diet, I mean, on your pizza, it looked very colorful. And
Yes.
you want to try to, make it as colorful as you can. Try to put every color in the rainbow on your pizza or really anything that you're eating. You want it to be colorful.
Yes.
And, a healthful diet is going to include, an adequate amount of nutrients and energy for your body. and it's moderate. You're gonna have a moderation of all types of foods, and it's also most importantly, it's gonna be nutrient dense. So you're gonna have the highest amount of nutrients and fibers with the lowest amount of calories. So that'll give you a balanced diet.
That is fantastic, right? So making pizza is part of a balanced diet. That's what you're telling me?
Hopefully,
That's
the
fantastic.
more colorful, the more
Sold.
balanced.
Sold. I'll take 2 of them. Right? No. Just like she did mention, everything in moderation. Right? A lot of people like to say that fat is bad and sugar is bad and this is bad and that is bad. And when everything's said and done, moderation tends to be the key. Right? Our bodies need fat, they need sugar, they need all that stuff, right?
They need proteins,
right?
Yeah, they need everything.
Someone's just get a little greedy and get a little more than we need. All right? We're looking at our pizzas. They are coming along. They're starting to get some color. There's still about 3 more minutes there, right?
So we have some trivia questions.
We have trivia questions? What are
Let's
those trivia
see.
questions?
Okay, so do any of y'all know what the world's biggest pizza, the size of the world's biggest
The
pizza?
world's biggest pizza.
Yes.
We're going to guess, right? If you're out there listening to us, pause it, right? Get some guesses. Right? What's your guess? World's biggest pizza.
5 feet in radius or something?
Yeah, how wide it is, right?
Yeah. 5 feet?
He's using big words, radius, right?
Do you have a guess?
5
Chef?
feet. I'm going to say, let's go crazy. I'm going to say 12 feet.
It's actually 13,582 feet. So like a third
So
of
we're a little
football.
off. We're a little off.
A third the
Just
size
a little.
of a football field.
Wow, a pizza the
Right.
size of a football field.
Right.
Where was that and why wasn't I invited?
Yeah, it's actually in
Right.
the Guinness Book of World Records.
That's interesting, right? Our pizza is going to be about 12 inches. So about 1 foot, right? So
Another question, what is the most expensive pizza?
the
Or how
most
much? Yes, how
expensive
much?
pizza. I've seen shows like that they put like all kinds of fancy stuff on top. I'm going to say, well, you get your first guess.
$1,000?
$1,000. I'm gonna go crazy again. I'm gonna say $10,000.
You're close.
Oh wow, really?
It's 12,000.
$12,000.
Right.
And what was in that pizza?
Lots of fancy stuff. 3 types of caviar, lobster, and they actually go to your home and actually make it for you in Italy.
In Italy.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's the professional chef is also in that.
Yeah, exactly. So you get everything for
Fantastic.
$12,000. The chef and the show and the toppings.
All right. So it looks like our pizza's really close. I'm gonna get my plate ready. All right. Go back to our board, right? Make sure that you kind of get rid of some of that excess flour, right? Because now that it's cooked, you don't want to have too much of that excess flour that's in there, right? Open it up. Carefully scoot underneath. All right,
Wow.
right there. Look at that.
Wow.
All right, look at this. Look at this. All right, that doesn't fall apart on me. Let's see if I can. Oh, I can't show you the bottom, right? But trust me, it's delicious, right? I'm gonna get nice and close. Let's see if you can hear this in the mic. Let's see if I can hear a little crunch. I'm gonna get a little creepy close to this.
Oh.
Oh, did you hear that? That made me happy, right? All right, and we got another one, right? Get everything nice and clean, ready to go for part 2. You want to pull this one out?
I'll try.
No trying, there's just doing. Right, just get underneath and give it a nice little, try to get underneath and try to give it a nice little aggressive push. Kind of keep it like this. Oh, let's go one more. Let me pull it out. Let me pull this back a little bit. Try it one more time, right? No fear, just like you got it in there. There you go. Now kind of just, there you go. Now let's get it over here. How does that smell?
It smells really good.
It smells tasty, right?
Yeah.
Nice and quiet again. Shh, shh. I got the mask, but I'm smiling. I'm smiling underneath that mask. There you go. Right? Pizza made from start to finish. Right? We made it ourselves. We know the ingredients that we have in there. If we don't like it, we don't need to put those ingredients in there. Right? We know those ingredients are fresh. We know where they came from, especially now that Sandra explained it to us. Right? Sun, we appreciate the sun. It keeps us nice and warm, right? Lets us have fun where we go to the beach, but it also creates a lot of our food, right? It's a big building block for us as a whole, right? And now we get to enjoy our pizza, right? That is fantastic. All right. Anything else before we leave?
Just enjoy your pizza, make it as healthy as possible, and it's all science.
Right?
The science of pizza.
Part of cooking is having fun, right? Part of cooking is having fun. If you're not having fun, then I don't know what to tell you. Right? Did you have fun?
I had fun.
You had fun? You've made pizza before, right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Well then, we're going to say goodbye to everybody, right? And then we're going to taste this pizza because we need to figure out if it's as good as it looks and as good as it smells. All right? So till next time, thank you for joining us for the cooking spot, Culinary in the Classroom. And keep an eye out for future episodes. All right? Thank you very much. You have a good one.